Greetings, Elderly Vegan here, and welcome to my 75th year celebration demonstration and my journey to health and fitness from complete junk food junkie to squeaky clean, whole food, plant-based vegan. Well, in the second half of the video, I'll be shifting gears where I want to address a related topic for which I believe my vibrant health at age 75 has a direct bearing. And granted, this is a rather daunting subject to take on, but it is hugely important nonetheless. It involves the continual decline of the health of the average person in this country. And regardless of what political party to which you are affiliated, this problem is so pervasive that, in my opinion, the time has come to rethink our approach to healthcare in this country. But first, and on a less serious note, I want to relate to you my journey to health and fitness and how it was accomplished. Here we go. At age 18, I became an avid bicycle road racer. And in my 22nd year, I finished 4th in Indiana's 100-mile bicycle road racing championship. I know at the time, I thought something to the effect of, "Look what I can accomplish on fast food and junk food." Yet never once did it occur to me to ask this question. I wonder what I'm capable of if I would eat real food. So even though I didn't appreciate it at the time, I was on a nutritional highway to hell. And the fact that I was still riding about 4,000 miles per year on my 10-speed probably was the only thing which saved me from going into metabolic syndrome. However, by the time I reached my early 30s, my seemingly robust health was slowly winding down, and I felt for the first time that I might be showing signs of becoming middle-aged. Apparently, my love affair with junk food was finally catching up with me. And making a long story short, the transition from hardcore junk food junkie to squeaky clean, whole food, plant-based vegan was a long and formidable process. But as I started to make the conversion, my lab results continued to improve by leaps and bounds. And you can bet they involve my cholesterol levels, my blood pressure readings, fasting glucose, and several other tests, including overall excellent health, not the least of which were the results of a test referred to as high sensitivity C-reactive protein. This test is associated with multiple forms of deadly chronic disease, and my results were so favorable that my physician told me they were the best he'd ever seen in his entire career. Yet I have two other biomarkers of health and wellness which may well put me in the anomaly category for someone my age. And these biomarkers are not only related to wise nutritional choices, but also to a program of regular physical activity, including aerobic exercise and resistance training. One of these biomarkers is a low resting heart rate, which is a direct result of all the cardio workouts I've done over the years. During the summer months, when I'm outside engaged in routine maintenance, and in addition to my over-the-top workout routine, I frequently get pulse readings in the low to mid-40s when I am at complete rest. And I've included this recent screenshot generated from my Fitbit watch, where you will see my lowest heart rate for that particular day was 41, which occurred at some point deep in the night, while my average resting heart rate for that same general period of time was 45. And in the next photo, you see one of my typical blood pressure readings, along with a pulse of 45. Putting things into perspective, a resting heart rate like this is easily, and I mean easily, in the endurance athlete category for someone 30 to even 40 years younger. And the other biomarker I want to mention is even more outrageous, coming from a 75-year-old. At this point in my life, I do believe my lean body mass is the most favorable it has ever been. Yet never before has my diet been so squeaky clean, nor have I ever trained with more discipline than I currently do at this point in my life. And by the way, I am not on testosterone replacement therapy, nor do I take branched-chain amino acids in supplement form. I might also mention there's no Photoshop and no shenanigans with AI for that matter. So my recipe for health and wellness is primarily the result of a whole food plant-based diet, along with a serious exercise program worthy of an overachiever. Yet there's one more component to my health and wellness program for which I do not know how much it has contributed to my overall results. And that is the inclusion of several nutritional supplements as one of the cornerstones of my health and wellness program. Apparently, soils are not what they used to be. They are depleted. As such, the produce we consume today, from a nutritional standpoint, is but a shadow of a memory of what it once was. And I might also mention that yoga classes too had an integral part of my physical fitness program for over 20 years. In fact, because of all the yoga classes I've taken, my flexibility and sense of balance are also at near record levels. And yoga classes are especially good for seniors, specifically for this reason, as flexibility and balance are definitely helpful for preventing falls and fractures. Amazingly, that demanding forearm balance you see me doing, I learned it at age 67. But there were two other events in my life which also had a direct bearing on my desire to take personal responsibility for my own health and wellness. Both of these events involved a couple of very less than wonderful encounters I had with our traditional healthcare system. At age 31, I was misdiagnosed with a malignant brain tumor, and the prognosis was that I probably had about 6 more months to live. But in a last-ditch effort to save my life, the plan was to remove my left eye along with a significant portion of the left frontal lobe of my brain. I was told I would not be the same person after the surgery. Rather, I would be more relaxed, was the term used by my doctor. Had it not been for a former instructor who successfully intervened, my surgery was just 1 week away. Thus, I narrowly escaped having my life totally destroyed by the surgeon's scalpel. This former instructor who intervened was a pathologist, and he understood the concept of false negative and false positive results with regard to any diagnostic workup. Therefore, he recommended getting second opinions, and within the week, the reports came back benign. As for my second less than wonderful experience with our traditional healthcare system, I had a sinus infection where I was given the maximum dose of the most powerful antibiotic known to Western medicine. It was called ciprofloxacin, and on the 10th day after taking Cipro, my ears started ringing nonstop. I consulted a specialist, and it was his opinion I was one of the 2% of the population who receive permanent hearing damage as a direct result of taking this particular antibiotic. In this case, the hearing loss mostly affected my high-frequency hearing. The problem was, however, that a significant portion of my income was made as a direct result of my formerly acute high-frequency hearing. And this was because I was making professional audio recordings where my high-frequency hearing was absolutely indispensable. That appointment I had with the specialist is going on 3 decades now, and that was the last time I've ever been to one of our traditional medical doctors. Since then, I've sought out consultations from a doctor of functional medicine who takes the holistic approach, as well as a couple of holistic-minded nurse practitioners who will order lab work for me at my request. So it's at this point I want to change directions a bit and address a related topic I mentioned in the introduction. And this topic is not only crucial if a long and healthy life is of any importance, but in the greater scheme of things, it is crucial for the future of the country. In my opinion, the highly processed food industry, which abounds in the center aisles of virtually every grocery store in America, along with the healthcare system where the objective is to manage the symptoms of chronic disease with prescription medications, is totally unsustainable. The system is failing. Rather, a proactive approach needs to be taken where patient education is paramount, with the goal that most chronic disease can be avoided entirely through positive lifestyle modifications, while saving the prescription medications when nothing else will serve. Well, it's been about 30 years since I saw my last mainstream physician. So how does my health stack up against the average person in this country who more than likely has relied on conventional Western medicine? Well, the way I see it, the comparison isn't even close. As you probably know, diabetes is out of control in this country. High blood pressure is rampant. Coronary heart disease is the leading cause of death in America. Obesity is spiraling out of control, and many forms of cancer could be avoided entirely if one led a healthy lifestyle. And according to life care advocates, the average 75-year-old in this country is on 10 different kinds of prescription medications, while the cost of health care continues to rise unabated as the health span continues its long downward spiral. So I ask the following: show me a single person in this country who's attained a similar level of health and vitality that I have by the time they are 75 years old, and they have done so by eating highly processed food with impunity. They've led a sedentary life, and they have relied on any number of prescription medications to have their symptoms of chronic disease managed for the remainder of their life. I suspect the number of people in this country who fall into this category is precisely 0. Currently, the vast majority of all medical schools in the country do not include a single course in nutrition. So how is the average physician going to counsel their patient on matters of nutrition and a health-promoting lifestyle if they've never received any formal training in this area? Yet it will probably take a couple of generations to turn this around, as a huge percentage of our economy is based on the food-like products which make people sick, and a healthcare system that does virtually nothing to educate the people to lead healthier lifestyles. Is it any wonder healthcare costs continue to rise as the health of the average person declines? So it looks as though if a person is really going to get serious about leading a long and healthy lifestyle, they will be obliged to learn the basics of leading a healthy lifestyle on their own. This is what I had to do, and the process is ongoing. Therefore, I pose this question to AI, in which case AI provided 12 reference books from which to choose, such that a person could indeed teach themselves the basics of a healthy lifestyle. And you might find it interesting that the book which appeared second on AI's list was Dr. Michael Greger's book, How Not to Die. And for those of you who've never heard of Dr. Greger before, make no mistake, he is one hardcore vegan. I happen to own this book, and I thought it was excellent. But I would also like to mention 2 more books to the list which AI did not mention. One is the Encyclopedia of Natural Medicine, now in its 3rd edition, by naturopathic physicians Dr. Michael Murray and Dr. Joseph Pizzorno. And the other reference is also by the same 2 authors. It's entitled The Encyclopedia of Healing Foods. In fact, these 2 comprehensive references have formed the template for my health and wellness program for over 20 years. And let me make this perfectly clear. I am in no way affiliated with any of these authors, nor is there a millisquidgen of financial incentive for me to do so. I mention these references because it's necessary. How else is a person going to learn about nutrition and a health-promoting lifestyle if they don't have the tools? And more than likely, they are not being counseled in this direction when they visit their physician. So I hope you will consider taking a proactive approach to your own health care if you don't already. And yes, it will take effort, but most things worthwhile do require effort. And yes, it is a struggle to wean yourself off of addictive, highly processed foods, but continuing to consume them will set you up for a whole host of deadly chronic diseases and an early departure to the far shore. Obviously, this is a personal decision, and I suppose it comes down to a matter of setting priorities. But before I conclude this video, I want to mention my top 3 favorite quotes. And my first quote is from Dr. Mark Hyman, who's the Director of Functional Medicine at the Cleveland Clinic. And his quote refers to the health benefits of engaging in a program of regular physical activity. Dr. Hyman's quote, "If you don't exercise at all, just start walking." But my next quote is one I think many of you will find very encouraging. And although I do not know the author, it conveys a widely accepted concept in the realm of health and fitness. It is as follows. No matter how old you are, no matter what shape you're currently in, there's always room for improvement once you begin to lead a healthy lifestyle. And my last quote is attributed to a physician who lived on earth over 24 centuries ago. His name was Hippocrates, and perhaps you've heard this quote before. Let your food be your medicine, let your medicine be your food. Obviously, this quote is in reference to real food, as the highly processed food industry was non-existent before the 19th century. And you can bet optimal health and highly processed food are mutually exclusive. I will leave you now with the pull-up demonstration, and for a couple of reasons, I think you will find this demonstration noteworthy. First, the minimum pull-up requirement for Navy SEAL recruits is 10. And the other reason is that the person you see in this video will be 80 years old in just 5 more years. One would certainly think I must be doing something right. As such, I think I can speak with a fair degree of authority on the topic of health and wellness. Thank you for watching, and please give us a like. To your good health, the elderly vegan.